Everything you think you know about eating healthy? Yeah, most of it is marketing disguised as science. From breakfast cereal companies literally inventing nutrition myths to sell more product, to government food pyramids designed by lobbyists, we've been systematically lied to about what goes into our bodies. Let's burn it all down. 1. You've been told your entire life that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Skipping it supposedly destroys your metabolism, makes you gain weight, and basically turns you into a nutritional disaster. Health teachers repeated it. Your parents believed it. It's treated as scientific fact right up there with gravity and photosynthesis. Except this fact was invented by Kellogg's and other cereal companies in the 1940s as a marketing campaign, not nutritional science, a literal advertising slogan. The cereal industry needed to sell more product, so they funded studies and pushed messaging that eating their sugar-loaded flakes first thing in the morning was essential for health. They paid doctors to endorse it. They created nutrition education materials for schools. The campaign was so successful that it became accepted wisdom, passed down through generations, like it was handed down on stone tablets. Meanwhile, actual research shows that meal timing matters far less than total nutrition throughout the day. Some people thrive skipping breakfast. Others need it. Your body doesn't care about Kellogg's quarterly earnings. So yeah, you've been starting your day based on a cereal commercial from when your grandparents were kids. 2. 8 glasses of water, 8 ounces each, every single day, no exceptions. You've heard this so many times, it's practically encoded in your DNA. Fitness influencers repeat it. Water bottle companies print it on their products. Doctors mention it casually, like it's an undisputed biological requirement. Here's the thing. This number has absolutely zero scientific basis, and probably came from a misunderstood recommendation from the 1940s. The original guidance suggested people need about 64 ounces of water daily, but, and this is the part everyone forgot, that included water from all sources. Your food, your coffee, that orange you ate, everything. But bottled water companies looked at that forgotten detail and saw dollar signs. They pushed the 8 glasses myth hard because it created anxiety. Are you drinking enough? Better carry a water bottle everywhere. Better buy our special hydration tracking bottle. Your actual hydration needs vary wildly based on your size, activity level, climate, and what you eat. A construction worker in Arizona needs more water than an office worker in Seattle. Groundbreaking insight, I know. Turns out the water bottle industry built an empire on a half-remembered factoid from 80 years ago. 3. Eggs and cholesterol. For decades, you were told that eating eggs would raise your cholesterol and give you heart disease. People limited themselves to 1 or 2 eggs per week, terrified that their morning omelet was basically a heart attack on a plate. The egg industry suffered. Restaurants changed menus. An entire generation grew up thinking eggs were dangerous. But dietary cholesterol has minimal impact on blood cholesterol for most people. The eggs were innocent. This catastrophic misunderstanding started in the 1970s when studies conflated dietary cholesterol, what you eat, with blood cholesterol, what's in your veins. Researchers saw that people with high blood cholesterol had more heart disease, found that eggs contained cholesterol, and made a logical leap that turned out to be completely wrong. They didn't account for how your body actually processes food. Your liver produces most of your cholesterol, regardless of what you eat. Modern research shows that for the vast majority of people, eggs don't significantly affect heart disease risk. In fact, they're nutritionally dense and actually good for you. But the damage was done. An entire food group got demonized for decades based on oversimplified science. The egg industry is finally getting its redemption arc, only 50 years too late. 4. Low-fat everything. Low-fat yogurt, low-fat cookies, low-fat salad dressing that tastes like sadness. The entire food industry pivoted in the 80s and 90s to remove fat from everything because fat makes you fat, right? It's literally in the name. This wasn't fringe science. This was official government policy. The food pyramid told you to eat 6 to 11 servings of bread and avoid fats. Seemed logical. The only problem is that the low-fat craze was based on cherry-picked data and actually made the obesity epidemic worse. In the 1950s, a researcher named Ancel Keys decided fat was the enemy. He had data from 22 countries showing diet and heart disease rates, but he only published results from 7 countries, the ones that supported his theory. He ignored the rest. Meanwhile, the sugar industry was quietly funding research to shift blame away from sugar and onto fat. When food manufacturers removed fat to follow the guidelines, they had to add something back for flavor. That something was sugar. Lots of sugar. So people ate low-fat products, felt virtuous, consumed way more sugar and refined carbs, and obesity rates exploded. We're still dealing with the consequences. Thanks for that, Ancel. Really nailed it. 5. Juice cleanses and detox diets. Your body accumulates toxins from processed food, pollution, and modern life. These toxins make you tired, bloated, and unhealthy. The solution? A 3-day juice cleanse that costs $200 and promises to flush out all those nasty chemicals. Celebrities endorse them. Wellness influencers swear by them. The entire detox industry is worth billions selling you bottles of cold-pressed vegetables. But your liver and kidneys already detox your body constantly. That's literally their entire job. Detox is a completely meaningless marketing term when applied to juice cleanses. Your liver and kidneys filter your blood 24 hours a day, removing actual toxins and waste products. They're incredibly good at it. No juice has ever been shown to improve this process or remove anything your organs don't already handle perfectly well. When detox companies are asked what specific toxins their products remove, they can't name them because they don't remove anything. You're paying premium prices to drink blended vegetables while your liver does exactly what it was already doing. The whole industry exists because it sounds scientific enough to be believable and preys on people's anxiety about invisible threats. So basically, you're spending a fortune to make expensive urine while your organs laugh at you. 6. MSG causes headaches, chest pain, and something called Chinese restaurant syndrome. You've probably heard this one. Maybe you've even claimed to feel sick after eating Chinese food and blamed the MSG. It's listed on menus as a warning. People request their food without it. The belief is so widespread that it's treated as established medical fact. Except MSG is no more harmful than table salt, and Chinese restaurant syndrome was rooted in racism, not science. In 1968, a doctor wrote a letter to a medical journal claiming he felt weird after eating at Chinese restaurants. He blamed MSG without any actual evidence. The letter went viral, 1960s style, and suddenly everyone was diagnosing themselves with MSG sensitivity. Here's what nobody mentioned. MSG is just glutamate, an amino acid that naturally occurs in tomatoes, cheese, mushrooms, and breast milk. Your body produces it. You eat it every day without knowing. Decades of rigorous double-blind studies have found zero consistent evidence that MSG causes any symptoms in normal amounts. But Chinese restaurants got specifically targeted and had to defend their cooking, while Doritos, ranch dressing, and Parmesan cheese, all loaded with MSG, got a complete pass. So yeah, you've been perpetuating xenophobia disguised as a food sensitivity. 7. Organic food is healthier, more nutritious, and doesn't use pesticides. It's better for you and better for the planet. People pay double or triple the price because organic means pure, natural, and safe. The label promises you're getting something fundamentally superior to regular produce. But organic farming uses pesticides too, just different ones, and the nutritional differences are basically negligible. Organic describes a farming method, not a health guarantee. Organic farmers absolutely use pesticides. They're just required to use ones derived from natural sources instead of synthetic ones. Sounds better, right? Except natural doesn't mean safer. Some organic pesticides are just as toxic or even more toxic than synthetic alternatives. Rotenone, an organic pesticide, is linked to Parkinson's disease. Multiple large-scale studies comparing organic and conventional produce found minimal nutritional differences. We're talking single-digit percentage variations that mean nothing in your actual diet. You're essentially paying premium prices for a farming philosophy and a label. The organic industry convinced you that expensive vegetables are fundamentally different when mostly you're just subsidizing their marketing budget. 8. Cracking your knuckles will give you arthritis when you're older. Your parents told you this. Your teachers mentioned it. Every time you popped your fingers, someone warned you that you'd regret it in 20 or 30 years when your hands were gnarled and painful. There is literally zero scientific evidence connecting knuckle cracking to arthritis. None. The popping sound comes from gas bubbles in your synovial fluid suddenly collapsing. That's it. No damage, no wear and tear, nothing sinister. One dedicated doctor named Donald Unger cracked the knuckles on only his left hand every day for 60 years. 5 decades of a controlled self-experiment to prove it doesn't cause arthritis. When he finally checked both hands, they were identical. No difference in arthritis rates. He won an Ig Nobel Prize for his commitment to proving people wrong. Multiple studies have confirmed his findings. Your mom just wanted you to stop making annoying noises at the dinner table and needed a medical excuse. 9. Sugar causes hyperactivity in kids. Give a child candy or soda and watch them bounce off the walls, running around like they've been possessed by caffeinated demons. Birthday parties devolve into chaos because of all that cake. It's obvious cause and effect. Sugar equals hyperactivity. Multiple double-blind studies show that sugar doesn't actually affect children's behavior. Parental expectations do. Researchers gave kids either sugar or artificial sweeteners, then told parents which one their child received. Except they lied. When parents thought their kid had consumed sugar, they reported hyperactive behavior regardless of what the child actually ate. When kids got sugar, but parents thought they didn't, no hyperactivity was reported. The behavior difference wasn't in the children. It was in how parents perceived and responded to them. Kids act wild at birthday parties because they're excited about presents, games, friends, and staying up late. The cake is just there. Context matters more than chemistry. So you've been blaming glucose for your child's natural enthusiasm and completely normal party energy. 10. You lose most of your body heat through your head. Somewhere between 40 and 50% of your heat escapes through your skull, which is why you need to wear a hat in winter. It's printed in survival guides. Parents repeat it constantly. The advice seems to make intuitive sense because your head feels cold, but you lose heat proportionally from any exposed skin. Heads aren't thermodynamically special. This myth originated from a flawed military study in the 1950s. Researchers put subjects in Arctic survival suits to test cold weather gear, but didn't give them hats. Naturally, with every other body part insulated and only their heads exposed, subjects lost significant heat through their heads. The study reported this finding. Someone misunderstood or oversimplified it, and suddenly everyone believed heads were magical heat radiators. In reality, your head represents roughly 10% of your body's surface area and loses roughly 10% of your heat. If you went outside naked except for a hat, you'd lose 90% of your heat through your not head. The reason your head feels colder is because it's more sensitive to temperature changes and usually exposed. Turns out your parents' obsession with hats was based on dudes in the Arctic who forgot their beanies. 11. Microwaves destroy nutrients and turn your food into radioactive poison. The radiation zaps all the vitamins out of whatever you're heating. Microwave ovens are dangerous, unnatural technology that fundamentally alters food at a molecular level in ways traditional cooking doesn't. Health-conscious people avoid them entirely. Turns out microwaves often preserve more nutrients than conventional cooking methods. All cooking reduces some nutrients. That's just what heat does. But microwaves actually use less time and less water than stovetop or oven cooking, which means more vitamins survive the process. Steaming broccoli in the microwave retains more nutrients than boiling it for 15 minutes. The radiation people fear is non-ionizing radiation, the same type as radio waves and visible light. It's not nuclear radiation. It doesn't make your food radioactive. It just makes water molecules vibrate, which creates heat. That's it. People heard the word radiation and conflated it with Chernobyl, not understanding that radiation is just energy transfer and exists on a spectrum from harmless to deadly. So you've been carefully avoiding the cooking method that's actually better at preserving your vitamins while reheating your coffee. 12. Eating carrots dramatically improves your night vision. If you want to see better in the dark, load up on carrots and other orange vegetables. This advice has been around forever. Parents fed kids carrots with promises of superhuman eyesight. The beta-carotene gives you special visual powers. This was literal World War II propaganda created by British intelligence to hide radar technology from the Germans. The Royal Air Force had developed new radar systems that let their pilots intercept German bombers at night with shocking accuracy. To keep this technology secret, they started spreading rumors that their pilots ate tons of carrots, which gave them exceptional night vision. The story was so successful that the British government launched a whole propaganda campaign encouraging citizens to eat carrots, complete with Dr. Carrot cartoon characters. The Germans apparently bought it. Meanwhile, carrots do contain vitamin A, which is necessary for eye health, and severe deficiency can cause vision problems. But if you already have adequate vitamin A levels, which most people in developed countries do, eating more carrots won't enhance your vision beyond normal. Your eyesight isn't getting superpowers from vegetables. You just fell for 70-year-old military counterintelligence. 13. Natural sugars from honey, agave, and coconut are healthier alternatives to evil white sugar. These sweeteners are pure, unprocessed gifts from nature. They have minerals and enzymes, and don't spike your blood sugar the same way. Health food stores charge triple the price because these natural options are obviously superior. Your body processes all sugars basically the same way, and some natural alternatives are actually worse. Sugar is sugar is sugar. Honey does contain trace amounts of minerals and antioxidants, but you'd need to consume cups of it to get meaningful nutritional benefits, which would absolutely destroy your health with all that sugar. Agave nectar gets marketed as low glycemic, but it's higher in fructose than high fructose corn syrup, the exact thing people are trying to avoid. Coconut sugar has the same calorie count and glycemic impact as regular sugar. The food industry took your desire for natural products and sold you expensive sugar with better marketing. Your pancreas doesn't care about the origin story. It's dealing with glucose and fructose either way. Congratulations! You're paying 5 times more for fancy sugar that your body can't distinguish from the cheap stuff. 14. Taking vitamin C prevents colds or significantly shortens how long you're sick. At the first sign of a sniffle, you should megadose vitamin C. Emergency packets, orange juice, supplements. Load up, and you'll either avoid the cold entirely or get better way faster. This is accepted wisdom, backed by science. Linus Pauling's Nobel Prize-winning reputation convinced millions of people to believe something with minimal actual evidence. Pauling was a brilliant chemist who won the Nobel Prize for his work on chemical bonds. In his later years, he became obsessed with vitamin C, claiming it could prevent colds, cure cancer, and extend lifespan. He wrote best-selling books about it despite the lack of solid supporting research. His scientific credibility gave the claims weight. Decades of subsequent studies have shown that vitamin C has basically no preventive effect on colds for most people. If you're already taking it regularly, you might, maybe, reduce cold duration by half a day. We're talking 8 to 12 hours, not days. For the average person popping vitamin C when they feel sick, the benefit is a placebo at best. So you've been creating expensive, vitamin-enriched urine based on one scientist's unfounded late-career obsession. 15. Reading in dim light permanently ruins your eyesight. Trying to read in the dark will damage your vision, give you headaches, and potentially cause lasting harm. You need good lighting to protect your eyes. Generations of parents warned kids about this while yanking books away at bedtime. Dim lighting causes temporary eye strain, not permanent eye damage. Your eyes aren't photographic film that gets overexposed or underexposed. They're muscles and sensors that adjust to available light. Reading in poor lighting makes your eyes work harder, which can cause fatigue, headaches, and temporary discomfort. But there's zero evidence it causes lasting damage. Your eyes might feel tired or dry, but they recover completely with rest. This myth probably originated from parents who wanted kids to stop reading and go to sleep, or from trying to reduce electricity costs, or both. It sounds plausible enough that it became accepted fact. Optometrists have been debunking this for decades, but the myth persists because it's ingrained in parental anxiety. Your vision problems are from genetics and screen time, not that flashlight you used to read under the covers. 16. Eating late at night makes you gain weight. Calories consumed after 8 in the evening somehow transform directly into fat, while the exact same food eaten at noon doesn't. Late night snacking is uniquely fattening. Nutritionists warn against eating before bed because your metabolism shuts down and can't process food properly. Your body doesn't operate on a clock. Total caloric intake matters, not what time you consume it. Weight gain comes from energy balance over time, not mystical circadian alchemy. If you eat 2,000 calories spread throughout the day, or consume them all at 9 at night, your body processes them the same way. The reason late-night eating correlates with weight gain is because people tend to mindlessly snack on high-calorie foods while watching television or scrolling their phones, not because their metabolism suddenly stops working when the sun goes down. You're eating extra calories you don't need and doing it while sedentary. Some research even suggests that for certain people with specific schedules, later eating patterns work perfectly fine or even have benefits. Your metabolism doesn't punch out at 8 like it's leaving a shift at the office. 17. You need milk for strong bones and preventing osteoporosis. Dairy is essential for calcium and bone health. The food pyramid hammered this into everyone's brain. 3 servings of dairy daily or your skeleton would crumble. This wasn't alternative medicine. This was official government nutritional guidance. Countries with the highest dairy consumption often have the highest rates of osteoporosis, and studies show no clear correlation between dairy intake and bone health. The Got Milk campaign was dairy industry marketing, not public health advice. The National Dairy Council spent hundreds of millions of dollars convincing Americans that milk was necessary for survival. They funded research, lobbied government agencies, and created educational materials for schools. But when you actually look at global data, it gets weird. Countries like Japan and many African nations with minimal dairy consumption don't have higher fracture rates. Hip fractures are more common in dairy-heavy Scandinavian countries than in places where lactose intolerance is the norm. Bone health depends on vitamin D, weight-bearing exercise, overall diet quality, and genetics, not specifically dairy. You can get calcium from leafy greens, fortified foods, and dozens of other sources. The dairy industry built a nutritional empire on making you think cow secretions were mandatory for human skeletons. 18. Brown bread is healthier than white bread. Wheat bread is better for you. If the bread is brown, It's whole grain and nutritious. White bread is processed garbage, but brown bread from the same bakery aisle is somehow virtuous. People pay extra for brown bread, assuming they're making the healthier choice. Many brown breads are just white bread with molasses or caramel coloring added to look healthier. Here's the problem. Wheat bread is a meaningless term. All bread is made from wheat. Unless the label specifically says 100% whole grain or 100% whole wheat, you're probably getting refined flour with brown food coloring. Manufacturers discovered that people will pay more for bread that looks healthy, so they started adding color to white bread and slapping wheat on the label. The actual nutritional content is nearly identical. You need to check the ingredients list for whole grain as the first ingredient, not just trust that brown equals healthy. Marketing departments understood color psychology and exploited it brilliantly. You've been paying a premium for what is essentially bread-wearing nutritional blackface. 19. Turkey makes you sleepy because of tryptophan. Every Thanksgiving, after the big meal, everyone crashes on the couch. Obviously, it's the turkey. Tryptophan is this special amino acid that acts like a sedative. It's why you can barely keep your eyes open after the feast. Turkey contains no more tryptophan than chicken, beef, or most other meats. You're tired because you ate 3,000 calories in one sitting. Tryptophan does exist in turkey, but in completely unremarkable amounts. Chicken has basically the same levels. So does pork. If tryptophan in normal food quantities caused drowsiness, you'd be falling asleep after every meal containing protein. The real reason you're exhausted after Thanksgiving is because you consumed a massive amount of food, often including alcohol, and your body diverted significant blood flow to your digestive system to process it all. Add watching football, dealing with family dynamics, and the food coma becomes completely explainable without special turkey chemicals. For tryptophan to have actual sedative effects, you'd need to consume it, isolated on an empty stomach in massive doses. Your Thanksgiving fatigue is from gluttony and family stress, not biochemistry, but blaming the bird sounds better. 20. Shaving makes hair grow back thicker, darker, and faster. This is why men who start shaving have to keep doing it. They've triggered some irreversible process. Women are warned that shaving will make their hair coarser. Once you start, you can't stop because you've fundamentally changed your hair follicles. Shaving only affects the dead part of hair that's already outside your skin. It cannot possibly change your follicles or growth patterns. Hair naturally tapers to a fine point at the end. When you shave it, you cut through the thicker middle section, creating a blunt edge. As it grows back, you're seeing and feeling that blunt edge instead of the tapered end, which creates the illusion of thicker, coarser hair. The color seems darker for the same reason. You're seeing the dense middle shaft instead of the sun-bleached tip. Growth rate is unchanged. Your hair follicles are beneath the skin, completely unaffected by what happens to the dead keratin sticking out of your body. This myth persists, partly because people typically start shaving during puberty, when hair naturally becomes thicker and darker anyway due to hormones. So you've been attributing normal puberty changes to razors and feeling trapped in an endless shaving cycle you never needed to fear. 21. If you swallow gum, it stays in your stomach for 7 years. The gum just sits there, indigestible, accumulating in your digestive system like some kind of internal art installation. Your parents warned you about this constantly. Teachers mentioned it. The 7-year timeline became weirdly specific accepted fact. Gum passes through your digestive system in a few days, just like everything else you swallow. Your stomach and intestines can't break down the gum base. That part is true. But your digestive system doesn't need to chemically dissolve everything you eat. It just moves things along. Fiber isn't digested either, and nobody claims lettuce stays in your stomach for 7 years. Corn kernels pass through, basically intact. Your intestines are designed to push material through, whether it's fully broken down or not. Medical studies using radioactive markers have tracked gum's journey through the human body, and it exits in the normal time frame. This was definitely a lie parents told to prevent kids from wasting gum by swallowing it, instead of spitting it out when the flavor died. The 7-year timeline was probably just whatever number sounded scary enough to make you spit your bubble yum into a napkin. 22. Feed a cold, starve a fever. This saying has been around for centuries. When you have a cold, you're supposed to eat plenty of food. When you have a fever, you should avoid eating. It's treated as folk wisdom that somehow contains medical truth passed down through generations. This saying may have been completely misunderstood, and either way, the advice is wrong. Some etymologists think the original phrase meant, if you feed a cold, you'll have to starve a fever later. As in, feeding a cold would make it worse and cause a fever. Or it's just medieval nonsense with no basis at all. Either way, modern medicine is clear. Your body needs nutrition when fighting any illness. Fever, cold, flu, whatever. Your immune system requires energy to function. Hydration matters most. And yes, appetite naturally decreases during fever because your body is redirecting resources. But forcing yourself to starve helps absolutely nothing. Some evidence suggests eating can help recovery by providing raw materials for immune response. You've been following medical advice that's either a misunderstood warning from the 1500s or just straight up medieval superstition. 23. Coffee stunts your growth. Drinking coffee as a kid or teenager will make you shorter. This is why coffee is considered an adult beverage beyond just the caffeine content. Parents use this warning to keep children away from their morning brew. There is zero scientific evidence linking coffee consumption to reduced height or stunted growth. This myth probably emerged because coffee was seen as an adult drink, and parents needed a medical-sounding reason to keep kids from developing the habit. Early studies vaguely suggested that caffeine might interfere with calcium absorption, which led to speculation about bone development. Follow-up research completely debunked this connection. Your height is determined by genetics, nutrition, overall health, and hormones, not whether you drink espresso. Plenty of coffee-drinking populations in places like Italy have perfectly normal average heights. Kids who drink coffee aren't mysteriously shorter than kids who don't. Turns out all those short adults who love coffee aren't short because of the coffee. They just have short parents and good taste in beverages. 24. Eating fat clogs your arteries like grease clogging a drain. The fat you consume travels through your bloodstream and sticks to your artery walls, building up until you have a heart attack. It's a simple, visual explanation that makes intuitive sense. Fat in food becomes fat in blood vessels. Obvious. Your body doesn't work like kitchen plumbing, and arterial plaque formation is infinitely more complex than fat sliding through pipes. This catastrophic oversimplification helped sell the low-fat myth for decades. People imagined bacon grease congealing in their veins because the metaphor was easy to understand. In reality, your digestive system breaks down everything you eat into component molecules. Fat doesn't just slide into your bloodstream intact. Arterial plaque develops through complex processes involving inflammation, oxidation, immune responses, cholesterol particles, and endothelial damage. Some dietary fats are anti-inflammatory and protective. Others promote inflammation. Sugar and refined carbohydrates often cause more metabolic damage than dietary fat. Your metabolism isn't a garbage disposal that can get clogged. So you've been imagining your cardiovascular system as a sink drain when it's actually more like a sophisticated chemical processing plant. 25. The MMR vaccine causes autism. This belief terrified parents for decades. Vaccination rates dropped. Disease outbreaks returned. People genuinely thought they had to choose between protecting their kids from measles or causing autism. The study seemed legitimate. The doctor seemed credible. Andrew Wakefield's study was fraudulent, completely retracted, and got him permanently banned from practicing medicine. In 1998, Wakefield published a study in The Lancet claiming the MMR vaccine caused autism. The study included only 12 children. He falsified data. He had undisclosed financial conflicts of interest. He was being paid by lawyers suing vaccine manufacturers and had patents for alternative vaccines. The Lancet retracted the paper in 2010 after investigators discovered the fraud. Wakefield lost his medical license. Meanwhile, dozens of massive studies involving millions of children found absolutely no link between vaccines and autism. None. But the damage was catastrophic. His lie launched the modern anti-vaccine movement, leading to preventable disease outbreaks and deaths. One fraudulent doctor's greed created a global health crisis that we're still dealing with 25 years later. 26. You need to wait 30 minutes after eating before swimming, or you'll get cramps and drown. This rule was enforced at every pool, every beach, every summer gathering. Parents would not budge on this. Eating then, swimming was basically a death sentence. The 30-minute timer was non-negotiable. There are no documented cases of someone drowning because they swam too soon after eating. Your body does redirect some blood flow to your digestive system after a meal, which theoretically could cause mild cramping if you're doing intense athletic swimming. But we're talking about a slight decrease in performance, not sudden paralysis and death. The American Red Cross doesn't recommend waiting. Olympic swimmers eat before competitions. Professional athletes consume food strategically around training without dropping dead in pools. This was almost certainly parents wanting a break after feeding their kids, or preventing children from vomiting in the pool after scarfing down hot dogs. The 30-minute number is completely arbitrary, probably just long enough for food to settle and for adults to finish their conversations. Your poolside timeout wasn't about safety. It was about giving your parents 30 minutes of peace before dealing with you again. 27. Eating chocolate causes acne. If you're breaking out, lay off the chocolate and greasy foods. Dermatologists told teenagers this for decades. Parents banned candy when their kids had pimples. The connection seemed obvious. Greasy food makes greasy skin. Acne is primarily driven by hormones, genetics, and bacteria. Chocolate is mostly innocent. Multiple controlled studies have found little to no direct connection between chocolate consumption and acne breakouts. What might affect acne is high glycemic foods like sugar and refined carbohydrates, which can influence hormone levels and inflammation. But it's not the cocoa or the fat in chocolate causing problems. Acne develops when hormones trigger excess oil production. Dead skin cells, clogged pores, and bacteria cause inflammation. Your genes determine how sensitive you are to these processes. Blaming chocolate gave doctors an easy answer instead of explaining the complex interplay of androgens, sebaceous glands, and Propionibacterium acnes. Some people might notice correlations between diet and breakouts, but it's not the simple cause and effect relationship everyone believed. Turns out your teenage acne was from puberty and bad luck, not from eating Snickers bars in your room. 28. You only use 10% of your brain. 90% of your brain is untapped potential, just waiting to be unlocked. If you could access the rest, you'd have superpowers. This fact gets cited in movies, self-help books, and casual conversations as established neuroscience. You use virtually all of your brain, just not all at the same time, because that would be a seizure. Brain imaging shows activity throughout the entire brain over the course of a day. Different regions activate for different tasks, but all areas serve functions. Even during sleep, your brain is active. If 90% of your brain was truly unused, damage to those areas would cause no problems. Except it does. Injuries to any brain region cause specific deficits. This myth probably emerged from early misunderstandings of neuroscience, or was deliberately invented by self-help gurus selling brain training programs and untapped potential seminars. Movies like Lucy and Limitless built entire plots around this falsehood, making it seem even more credible. Your brain is running at full capacity. You're just not particularly smart, and no amount of brain training apps will fix that. 29. Sea salt is healthier and more natural than processed table salt. It comes from the ocean. It's minimally processed. It contains beneficial minerals that table salt lacks. People pay 5 to 10 times more for sea salt because it's obviously nutritionally superior. Chemically, sea salt and table salt are both sodium chloride. Your body cannot tell the difference. Sea salt does contain trace minerals like magnesium, calcium, and potassium, but the amounts are so microscopically small that they provide zero nutritional benefit. You'd need to consume dangerous amounts of salt to get meaningful minerals from it. Meanwhile, table salt is often iodized, which prevents iodine deficiency diseases like goiter that used to be common. The iodization of salt is actually a major public health achievement. Sea salt doesn't have this benefit unless it's specifically added. You're paying premium prices for marketing language and slightly different crystal shapes. Both will raise your blood pressure identically if you consume too much. The health difference is imaginary. Congratulations! You've been spending $10 on fancy sodium because the package says it's from the Himalayas instead of a processing plant. 30. Creatine is a dangerous steroid that damages your kidneys and causes aggression. It's an unnatural performance enhancer. Bodybuilders use it, which means it must be sketchy. Parents warned their kids away from it. Coaches banned it. The media treated it like a gateway drug to actual steroids. Creatine is one of the most thoroughly researched, safest supplements available, and your body produces it naturally every day. Creatine is synthesized in your liver, kidneys, and pancreas from amino acids. It's also found naturally in meat and fish. It's not a steroid, not a hormone, not even close. It's an organic compound that helps your muscles produce energy during high-intensity exercise. Decades of scientific research involving thousands of subjects have shown it's safe for healthy individuals. The kidney damage myth originated from misunderstood case studies of people who already had pre-existing kidney disease. For people with normal kidney function, creatine doesn't cause damage. Media coverage in the 90s scared an entire generation away from something that's basically harmless and actually effective for athletic performance. You've been avoiding a supplement that's safer than most vitamins because it sounded too good to be true and had a scary name. 31. Public toilet seats are the dirtiest, most germ-covered surfaces you'll encounter. Sitting on them basically guarantees disease. People hover, use paper covers, or avoid public restrooms entirely because toilet seats are crawling with dangerous bacteria that will make you sick. Your phone screen, computer keyboard, and kitchen sponge have exponentially more bacteria than toilet seats. Toilet seats are smooth, dry, non-porous surfaces that get cleaned regularly in most facilities. Disease transmission from toilet seats requires direct contact with mucous membranes, which isn't happening through your clothed rear end touching porcelain for 30 seconds. Meanwhile, your phone has been shown to carry 10 times more bacteria than the average toilet seat. Kitchen sponges are literal bacterial nightmares, harboring millions of microorganisms. Door handles, shopping carts, and restaurant menus are all significantly more contaminated. But people don't fear those items because they don't trigger the same psychological disgust response. The actual health risk from toilet seats is minimal to non-existent for anyone with intact skin. So, you've been carefully hovering over toilet seats while scrolling on your phone, which is basically a petri dish wrapped in a case. 32. Eating celery and other negative calorie foods burns more energy than they contain, causing weight loss. Just by digesting celery, you create a caloric deficit. These magical foods let you eat your way to being thinner. Diet culture has promoted this concept for decades. No food requires more energy to digest than it actually provides. That's not how thermodynamics works. Celery is extremely low in calories, about 6 calories per stalk. Your body does expend energy digesting food through what's called the thermic effect of food, which typically burns 10 to 20% of the calories consumed. So, eating that 6-calorie celery stalk might burn 1 calorie during digestion. You still net 5 positive calories. If negative calorie foods actually existed, eating them would cause you to starve to death since you'd be losing energy with every bite. The laws of physics don't allow for this. This myth helped sell countless diet programs and books promising easy weight loss through specific food combinations. It's thermodynamically impossible nonsense. Your body can't violate the first law of thermodynamics just because you're eating vegetables, no matter how much diet culture wants it to. 33. When you stop exercising, your muscle turns into fat. Bodybuilders who quit working out get fat because their muscle tissue literally converts. This is why you shouldn't start lifting weights unless you're committed forever. Stopping will make everything worse than if you'd never started. Muscle and fat are completely different tissue types. One cannot transform into the other, any more than bone can turn into skin. When you stop training, you lose muscle mass through atrophy because you're no longer providing the stimulus that maintains it. Separately, if you continue eating the same amount of food while being less active, you'll gain fat because you're in a caloric surplus. These are two simultaneous but independent processes. The visual change from muscular to soft makes people think transformation occurred, but muscle cells and fat cells are biologically distinct. It's like saying your car turns into a bicycle when you stop driving it. Physiologically impossible. This myth persists because the timing coincides. Muscle loss and fat gain happen around the same time when someone stops exercising while maintaining their eating habits. Your muscle isn't betraying you by shape-shifting into fat. You're just experiencing normal biology from stopping exercise and overeating. 34. Alcohol kills brain cells with every drink you take. Every time you consume alcohol, you're permanently destroying neurons. Your brain is getting progressively damaged. The more you drink, the dumber you become, irreversibly. This was taught in health class as established fact. Moderate alcohol consumption doesn't kill neurons. Chronic, heavy drinking damages neural connections through different mechanisms. Brain cells are remarkably resilient. Alcohol does impair how neurons communicate with each other, which is why you feel intoxicated, but it doesn't cause them to die from casual drinking. Heavy, chronic alcoholism can cause brain damage, but through complex processes involving nutritional deficiencies, inflammation, and damage to dendrites, not through simple cell murder. Studies of moderate drinkers show no significant neuron loss compared to non-drinkers. This oversimplification was useful for temperance movements and DARE, programs trying to scare people away from alcohol. The real mechanisms of alcohol-related brain damage are far more nuanced than each beer kills 1,000 brain cells. Your occasional drinks aren't executing your neurons. That's just what health teachers told you to prevent teenage binge drinking. 35. Sugar is as addictive as cocaine, or even more addictive than heroin. Sugar activates the same brain pathways as hard drugs. It's basically a legal drug that we give to children. Food companies are deliberately getting us addicted. The comparison to cocaine appears in documentaries, books, and news articles constantly. This claim grossly misrepresents animal studies and dangerously trivializes actual substance addiction. The studies people cite involved rats that were starved, then given unlimited access to both sugar water and cocaine. Under these extreme conditions, rats preferred sugar. But humans aren't starved laboratory rats with no other options. Sugar does activate reward pathways in the brain. So does listening to music, having sex, and petting dogs. Activation of reward circuits doesn't equal addiction. Clinical addiction involves tolerance. severe withdrawal symptoms, and life-destroying compulsive behavior despite negative consequences. Sugar overconsumption is absolutely a public health problem. But comparing Oreos to heroin minimizes the devastating reality of actual drug addiction. People don't lose their families, jobs, and lives to sugar the way they do to opioids or stimulants. Yes, sugar is overconsumed and problematic, but equating it with substances that kill 50,000 Americans annually is insulting to people battling real addiction. 36. Going outside with wet hair or being cold causes you to catch a cold. If you don't dry your hair before leaving the house, you'll get sick. Being cold weakens your immune system and makes you vulnerable to illness. This is why cold and flu season happens in winter. The temperature makes people sick. Colds are caused by viruses, not temperature, and you need direct exposure to a pathogen to get infected. You could stand naked in a snowstorm for hours and not catch a cold, unless someone with a cold virus sneezed on you first. Being cold might slightly stress your immune system, and cold air can dry out nasal passages, but correlation isn't causation. Cold and flu season happens in winter because people spend more time indoors in close proximity, breathing recirculated air and sharing germs. Viruses also survive longer in cold, dry air. The temperature itself doesn't make you sick. You need actual viral exposure. This myth probably persists because people notice they get sick more often in winter and assume it's the cold weather, rather than the behavioral changes and viral transmission patterns. Your grandmother's insistence on drying your hair wasn't protecting you from illness. It was based on centuries of misunderstanding basic germ theory. 37. Fresh vegetables are always more nutritious than frozen ones. Fresh is better. It's right there in the name. Frozen vegetables are processed and inferior. Health-conscious people buy fresh produce exclusively because obviously it's healthier and contains more vitamins. Frozen vegetables are often more nutritious than fresh vegetables sitting in your grocery store. Here's what actually happens. Vegetables destined for freezing are harvested at peak ripeness and frozen within hours, which locks in their nutritional content. Fresh vegetables are picked early so they can survive transport, sit in distribution centers, spend days in grocery store displays, and then potentially sit in your refrigerator for another week. During all that time, they're losing vitamins, especially vitamin C and folate, which degrade rapidly after harvest. Unless you're eating vegetables straight from a garden, frozen often beats fresh nutritionally. But the word fresh has powerful marketing appeal. It sounds premium, natural, and superior. So stores charge more for produce that's actually less nutritious than the frozen bags. You've been paying extra for the privilege of eating vegetables that have been slowly losing nutrients for 2 weeks instead of buying ones preserved at their peak. 38. You can target fat loss in specific body areas through exercise. Do crunches to burn belly fat, arm exercises to lose arm fat, thigh workouts to slim your legs. The fitness industry sells entire programs based on spot reduction. It seems logical. Work the area where you want to lose fat. Your body decides where fat is stored and lost based on genetics. You don't get to choose through targeted exercise. Fat loss is systemic. When you're in a caloric deficit, your body pulls from fat stores throughout your entire body in patterns determined by your genes, hormones, and sex. Some people lose face fat first. Others lose it from their extremities before their midsection. You can't override this with specific exercises. Doing 1,000 crunches will strengthen your abdominal muscles, but won't preferentially burn the fat covering them. If anything, your body might pull fat from your face or arms while leaving your belly untouched. The fitness industry perpetuates this myth because people desperately want control over where they lose weight, and selling targeted solutions is more profitable than admitting genetics calls the shots. So those targeted AB workout programs aren't revealing your six-pack. They're just making you really good at crunches while your body ignores your wishful thinking. 39. High fructose corn syrup is uniquely toxic and far worse for you than regular sugar. HFCS is the reason for obesity, diabetes, and metabolic disease. Natural cane sugar is fine, but HFCS is essentially poison. Products proudly advertise no high fructose corn syrup like it's a meaningful health claim. HFCS and table sugar are nearly identical chemically, and your body metabolizes them essentially the same way. Table sugar, sucrose, is 50% glucose and 50% fructose. The most common form of high fructose corn syrup used in soft drinks is 45% glucose and 55% fructose. Your body breaks down both into the same molecules and processes them through identical metabolic pathways. The 5% difference in fructose content is nutritionally meaningless. The real problem is that Americans consume excessive amounts of added sugars from all sources: cane sugar, HFCS, honey, agave, everything. Anti-HFCS marketing campaigns helped natural sugar products charge premium prices while providing identical health impacts. Both contribute to obesity and metabolic problems when overconsumed. You've been paying extra for products sweetened with cane sugar while your pancreas processes it exactly the same as the corn syrup you're avoiding. 40. Eating carrots significantly improves your eyesight beyond preventing vitamin A deficiency. Not just the World War II night vision propaganda, but the general idea that carrots are uniquely beneficial for vision. Parents push carrots on kids with promises of better eyesight. It's one of the most persistent food health myths. If you're vitamin A deficient, rare in developed countries, carrots help, but eating them won't improve already normal vision, no matter how many you consume. Vitamin A is essential for eye health, and severe deficiency causes vision problems, including night blindness. Carrots contain beta-carotene, which your body converts to vitamin A. So far, so good. But if you already have adequate vitamin A levels, which most people in developed nations do from their regular diet, eating additional carrots won't enhance your vision. You can't eat your way out of needing glasses. Your body will just excrete the excess. The World War II propaganda from Entry 12 was so wildly successful that it created a lasting belief in carrots as vision superfoods. Decades later, parents are still pushing carrots on kids using the same lie British intelligence created to hide radar technology. So congratulations, you're still falling for propaganda from 1943 and forcing vegetables on your kids based on military deception. 41. There's a critical 30-minute anabolic window after working out where you must consume protein or your entire workout was wasted. You need to chug a protein shake immediately after your last rep. Miss this window and your muscles won't grow. The supplement industry has drilled this urgency into every gym goer's brain. The anabolic window is actually several hours long, and total daily protein intake matters infinitely more than precise timing. Supplement companies push this myth relentlessly because it created artificial urgency. If you believe you have a 30-minute deadline, you'll buy their convenient ready-to-drink shakes and powder packets. Research shows that muscle protein synthesis remains elevated for hours after training, not minutes. Your muscles don't suddenly become unresponsive the moment you hit 31 minutes post-workout. What actually matters is consuming adequate protein throughout the day. Whether you eat it immediately after training or 2 hours later makes minimal practical difference for most people. The timing obsession was manufactured marketing, designed to sell convenience products at premium prices. So you've been desperately chugging chalky shakes in gym locker rooms because the supplement industry needed you to believe in a fictional deadline. 42. Going gluten-free is healthier for everyone, not just people with celiac disease. Gluten causes inflammation, brain fog, and weight gain in everyone. Cutting it out will make you feel amazing. Gluten-free products have taken over entire grocery store aisles with promises of superior health. For people without celiac disease or genuine sensitivity, gluten-free products are often less nutritious, more expensive, and provide zero health benefits. Celiac disease affects roughly 1% of the population. For them, avoiding gluten is medically essential. Non-celiac gluten sensitivity might affect a few additional percentage points of people. For everyone else, gluten is completely fine. It's just a protein found in wheat, barley, and rye. Gluten-free replacement products typically contain more sugar, less fiber, fewer nutrients, and cost 2 to 3 times as much as regular versions. The food industry created a multi-billion-dollar market by convincing healthy people they had a problem that didn't exist. Meanwhile, the trendy gluten-free movement has actually harmed people with legitimate celiac disease because restaurants and food service workers stopped taking it seriously. They assume everyone claiming gluten sensitivity is just following a fad diet. The cruelest irony is that gluten-free trend followers made life harder for people with actual celiac disease while paying premium prices to solve their imaginary problem. So yeah, pretty much everything you learned about health and nutrition was either corporate marketing or pure nonsense that somehow became common knowledge. If you've been lied to about something I didn't cover here, drop it in the comments. I guarantee there's a ridiculous origin story behind it. And if this made you question every food choice you've ever made, good. That's the point. Hit that like button and subscribe, because apparently we need to fact check literally everything we've been told about what we put in our bodies.